The world's leading AI models, Grok, ChatGPT and Gemini, all go head-to-head in this video as I ask them to predict this week's Champions League games. Then when all the games have been played, we'll post a results video and see which one did best. Speaking of results, we'll have results videos for the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga and the Premier League all coming out this week as well, so stay tuned for that and hit that subscribe button. But anyway, let's jump into it. Okay, kicking off with Tuesday's games, the first of which is Ajax versus Benfica, and Grok and Gemini are predicting the same thing here, and that is a 1-1 draw, and ChatGPT is predicting a 2-1 Ajax win. I think either way, this is going to be a really close game, but I'd probably side with Grok and Gemini being closest to the money there. Then we've got Galatasaray versus Union Saint-Gilloise, and all three models are perfectly aligned here and are predicting a 2-0 Galatasaray win. I think that's probably about as close as you'll get. I reckon the Galatasaray win comes out of this, but not by too significant of a gap. Next we have Borussia Dortmund versus Villarreal, and Grok and Gemini are agreeing again, and that is on a 2-1 Dortmund win, whereas ChatGPT is slightly more ambitious and predicting a 3-1 Dortmund win. I also think Dortmund win. I'm agreeing with the AI on every game so far. They seem to be on pretty good form. Moving on, we've got Chelsea versus Barcelona, and Grok and ChatGPT both agree here, and that is on a 2-1 Barcelona win. However, Gemini is predicting a 2-1 Chelsea win. So interesting, very interesting there, I think. But I believe that Barcelona, even though Chelsea are on good form and at home, I think Barcelona still have too much quality, and I think they'll end up victors here. Next up is Bodo Glimt versus Juventus, and Grok is predicting a 2-1 Juventus win. ChatGPT is predicting a 2-0 Juventus win, and Gemini thinks that's going to be a 3-1 Juventus win. So the consensus there is a Juventus win, and I think that is definitely going to happen. Although Bodo Glimt do have an upset in them, but the smart money, of course, will be with Juventus. Then we've got Manchester City versus Bayer Leverkusen, and Grok and Gemini are agreeing again here, and that is on a 3-0 Man City win, whereas ChatGPT believes that is going to end in a 3-1 Man City win. So the consensus here again is Man City win. I think it's fairly obvious. Bayer Leverkusen could do cause some problems there, maybe get a draw out of it. But I think again the smart money will be on a Man City win. They are at home. They do have Haaland up front. So there's that one. And moving on, we've got Marseille versus Newcastle United, and Grok is predicting a 2-0 Newcastle win, and ChatGPT and Gemini are agreeing this time, and that is on a 2-2 draw. I'm really stuck with this one. I don't know what to predict. I think Newcastle got a good win over Man City in the Premier League recently. I'm not sure what kind of form Marseille have been on, but they're always a strong team. So I don't know. I personally will stay away from this one if I'm betting. And on to the next one, which is Slavia Praha versus Athletic Club Bilbao. And Grok and Gemini are agreeing once more, and that is on a 2-1 Bilbao win, whereas ChatGPT is predicting a 1-1 draw. I personally think Athletic Bilbao have too much quality, and I think they will edge a fairly close win out of that one. Then we've got Napoli versus Karabag, and Grok is predicting a 2-0 Napoli win. ChatGPT is predicting a 3-0 Napoli win, and Gemini is predicting a 3-1 Napoli win. So the consensus is a Napoli win, and I absolutely go along with that. I think it could be a 2-3-0 scoreline, potentially even more 4-0, but I could also see a 1-0. But a Napoli win is the bottom line though. Right, on to Wednesday's games, the first of which is Copenhagen versus Kairat Almaty, and Grok is predicting a 2-1 Copenhagen win. ChatGPT is predicting a 2-0 Copenhagen win, and Gemini is predicting a 3-0 Copenhagen win. So I think quite surprisingly there, all models agreeing on a Copenhagen win, and Gemini really going for it with that 3-0 scoreline. I'm not convinced of that. I think they're fairly close on quality, but it's one of those I'd really like to stay away from as well in terms of predictions. It could go either way. I'll leave this one to the AI. Then we have Paphos FC versus AS Monaco, and Grok and Gemini are predicting the same here again, and that is a 2-0 Monaco win, whereas ChatGPT believes that will be a 3-1 Monaco win. I think Paphos proved pretty recently, I think they won a game or two they shouldn't have, so they're not there just to be run over. I don't think AS Monaco will have it that easy in terms of like sort of a 2-goal deficit. They might do, I guess, but I guess the smart money is on Monaco, so fair enough to the AI there. Up next, we have Arsenal versus Bayern Munich, and Grok and ChatGPT are agreeing here, and that is on a 2-1 Bayern Munich win, whereas Gemini believes that will be a 1-1 draw. I think this is a very tough one to predict. Arsenal are at home, but they've also always had historic trouble with playing Bayern Munich. I do think, though, their team is stronger than it's ever been. Gabriel being out might be an issue, but then on the other side of that, they've got some players coming back like Havertz, Gyökeres, Madueke. So I think there could definitely be an Arsenal win here, although none of the models have considered that, but maybe that's for good reason. Moving on, we have Atletico Madrid versus Internazionale, or Inter Milan, and Grok is predicting a 1-1 draw. ChatGPT is predicting a 2-2 draw, and Gemini thinks Atletico Madrid are going to win that 1-0. I think that's going to be a very tightly contested game, a real nightmare to predict. So I'd probably, if I was going to go with something, it'd probably be a draw. So I'd probably agree with Grok and go for a 1-1. Next up is Eintracht Frankfurt against Atalanta, and Grok is predicting a 2-1 Atalanta win. ChatGPT is predicting a 1-1 draw, and Gemini is predicting a 3-2 Atalanta win, which is quite interesting because the models very rarely predict a 3-2 or a 4-3 scoreline. They normally go quite conservative. So I think there are going to be goals in this game. It's a very tightly contested one again, a nightmare to predict, but I think probably you're going to get a high-scoring draw, maybe 2-2 or 3-3 or something like that. On to the next one, we've got Liverpool versus PSV Eindhoven, and Grok and Gemini are agreeing again, and that is on a 2-0 Liverpool win, whereas ChatGPT is slightly different and predicting a 2-1 Liverpool win. So Liverpool are in absolutely honking form, but it does seem to be exclusively in the Premier League. They're still doing pretty well in the Champions League games. I don't know why that is. So I wouldn't be so confident on Liverpool performing well and winning, but you know, it's hard to predict. Is their form just in the Premier League? Is that even a thing? Who knows? But I wouldn't be surprised if PSV maybe get a draw out of this, actually. But I guess the smart money is with a Liverpool win. Moving on, we have Olympiacos versus Real Madrid, and Grok and Gemini are agreeing again. They've been very, very aligned in this video, and that is on a 3-0 Real Madrid win, whereas ChatGPT, again close, but predicting a 3-1 Real Madrid win. I think, yes, it's pretty cut and dry. I think Real Madrid are heavy favourites, and that is for a reason. I think they will win here against Olympiacos. Maybe not convincingly like they normally do, because they're sort of a little bit hit and miss, Real Madrid these days, but yeah, I think they'll absolutely get the win there. And on to the penultimate game, which is between Paris Saint-Germain and Tottenham Hotspur. Grok is predicting a 3-1 PSG win. ChatGPT is predicting a 2-1 PSG win. And Gemini is predicting a 2-2 draw. I think that's quite interesting, actually. I think Tottenham don't look very strong. They're a little bit shaky in defence. They just recently got swept aside by Arsenal 4-1. So going away to PSG next, I don't think bodes particularly well for them. I can see this being quite a heavy defeat. I would personally predict something like a 4-0 or 4-1 PSG win, but we'll see. And the final game, which is between Sporting Lisbon and Club Brugge. Grok is predicting a 2-1 Sporting Lisbon win. ChatGPT is predicting a 2-0 Sporting win. And Gemini is predicting a 1-0 Sporting win. So they all agree there that Sporting are going to win this one. I personally think it's going to be pretty close. The two teams seem to be quite similar in quality levels. So I think that could end up in a draw. Definitely, I would predict a draw personally, but I can also understand why the AI are going for a Sporting win. They're at home. They're not a bad team. So there's that. So there are the full set of predictions, and here they are on screen from the AI models themselves. It's quite hard to fit the prompt in as well. The reason I don't do that is because it's sort of like a multi-layered approach. I have to ask it something and then add something on and add something on. So I'll just tell you what that process is now quickly if you are interested. If not, you can switch off, and thank you for watching. But anyway, so I asked them to predict the upcoming scores for whatever the competition is. In this case, it's the Champions League. I'll ask them to use current form, live data, recent results, current injury statuses, and that kind of thing. So we've got the most up-to-date info we possibly can. I then ask them to consider anomalies or underdogs or particular fixtures that do throw up sort of anomalous stats, or maybe that get won by the underdog. Then to consider that, put that against the analytical side of things, and then after that, you know, all that considered, choose the outcome which is most likely. So that is the prompt. And that is also pretty much the end of the video. I'd just like to quickly say, if you are still here and watching, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. It means a lot to a small channel like me. And while you're here, if I could just ask you to subscribe to the channel and like the video if you haven't already, I'd be very grateful for that indeed. But in any event, thank you so much for watching. Take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.